The Nintendo Switch was a massive departure from Nintendo's previous console, that being the Wii U, and a radical change on how people played their games, and redefined what it meant to be a home console. While the Steam Deck came out at the perfect time, right around when Nintendo Switch Pro rumors were dominating YouTube and the handheld PC arena was just teeming with potential, while PC hardware was beginning to reach a point where you could easily play AAA games on the integrated graphics. There were companies like GPD, Aya, Ayin, and others, but the problem that they were having at the time was most of those handhelds, were over $1,000. And most of those handhelds from those companies still are to this day. They're only recently starting to becoming more affordable, and that's only still around $800. That's what made the Steam Deck such a revolution for the gaming space. Just like how the Switch redefined what it meant to be a home console, the Steam Deck redefined what it meant to be a PC gamer. So let's see how these two revolutionary consoles compare. The Switch is a fantastic handheld that has been well established, so I'll just quickly run down what the Switch can offer. The Switch has a 720p screen and has a base storage capacity of 32GB. The OLED model has 64GB, plus a built-in kickstand. A mostly plastic construction, but still feels really good in the hand, even after 7 years of use. The Switch has 3 different models you can buy. The Switch Lite that can't be docked and doesn't have detachable controllers, which makes it the cheapest one at $200, and the most portable. The Switch then also has a base model that's sort of just basic, has all the standard features that a normal Switch would come with, at a price of $300, which was its launch price. The newest Switch and the last model Switch is the aptly named Nintendo Switch OLED. Main difference with this model being that it has an obvious OLED screen, a much better kickstand, and better speakers, but to me, kinda sound exactly the same. At the price of $350, it's the most expensive Switch we have. The Switch has a massive library of first and third-party games, but some very important franchises are missing, like Call of Duty. But most of those games that aren't on the Switch have pretty good alternatives, so you shouldn't be concerned about anything you're missing, and it of course has strong first-party offerings just like Mario Odyssey, Breath of the Wild, etc. There's so many amazing first-party titles. The Switch has some pretty impressive ports too, like Hogwarts Legacy, Borderlands 3, and even The Witcher. The main caveat with some more of those impressive ports, mainly like The Witcher and Hogwarts Legacy and Borderlands 3 like I mentioned before, is that most of these games could look kind of ugly, but they still do run really well, impressively so. Regardless of the fact that it runs at a low resolution or doesn't have high details, these games run really well, surprisingly, regardless of how they look. And for me, that's all that really matters. And to power all this, you can have a battery life of anywhere between 3 to 7 hours for the Nintendo Switch Lite, which is pretty good with all things considered, especially if you're playing a big game like Borderlands 3. I've gotten around 4 hours playing that game, which is downright impressive. The other two models share the same battery life between 4.5 to 9 hours, which is really good. And those ranges really depend on what games you're playing, and it's really hard to beat that kind of offering. The Nintendo Switch can offer so much at a really good price, and that's kind of tough to beat. We all know by this point that the Steam Deck is the best value PC handheld out there right now, but how does it compare to the Nintendo Switch? Starting off, the Steam Deck has an 800p screen, which just makes it a little bit taller of a display than the Switch has, so basically about 720p. The Steam Deck has a, let's say, unique button layout, but it really does work for the kind of things you'd like to do on the Steam Deck. Can't begin to say how many times the touchpads have come in handy so much. The Steam Deck has 2 models, a standard LCD that comes at a base price of $350, and then there's the OLED model for $550. There are models in between these two I've talked about, but the main difference between those models aren't anything major. They're just different storage capacities and, nanotextured glass to just basically have a nice anti-glare coating and whatnot. So I didn't bear measuring those because, in my opinion, most of those other models aren't really worth getting just because you can upgrade the storage yourself, unless you're really diehard in getting an anti-glare screen. For this standard LCD model Steam Deck, you can get a battery life anywhere between 2 to 8 hours, and for the OLED, you can get around 3 to 12. Once again, most of these battery life ratings really depend on what games you're playing. I've had it die within an hour depending on the games I've played. like Cyberpunk, Destiny 2, games that are AAA games and that are just incredibly demanding on the system, so keep that in mind. The Steam Deck can play almost all the games on Steam. There are only some games that aren't compatible with the Steam Deck, those being games with anti-cheat, and that excludes games like Destiny 2, Call of Duty, Valorant, even Overwatch, which has a port on the Switch that runs pretty good. But if you really wanted to play those games, you could always install Windows and play them if you wanted to. That's that flexibility that we all really like about the Steam Deck. Putting all that aside for now, the Steam Deck can offer some pretty astounding performance. While you can't play AAA games at ultra details, but given the size of the Steam Deck screen, you wouldn't really be able to appreciate those high-level details anyways, and even if you could run them that high details, it would kill your battery life. So running most games at low is fine and still looks really good. You can play games like Elden Ring, Halo Infinite, massive AAA games on the go, and if you don't like SteamOS, you can just install Windows. Because at the end of the day, it's just a PC. That's the Steam Deck's big advantage, to the point where the Steam Deck can even emulate Nintendo Switch games, and that's been the primary way I've been enjoying my recent Nintendo Switch games. It can emulate them so well that they run better than they actually do on the Switch. It's kind of ridiculous how well the Steam Deck sort of solves a lot of people's problems. You don't like that the new Pokemon game just kind of runs like hot garbage on the Switch? Just emulate it on the Steam Deck and you'll have a great time. That's what I'm talking about. The Steam Deck offers just such a great degree of flexibility and allows you to enjoy the games the way you want to enjoy them. Just like the Switch, you can dock the Steam Deck. Granted that you have to buy the dock separately, but unlike the Switch, you can buy any dock you'd want without worry of the potential of killing your Switch that happened to so many people right when the 5.0 update came out those many years ago. And it offers all of that performance, flexibility at the same price as a Nintendo Switch OLED. And I think the Nintendo Switch has finally met its match. Moving on to the conclusion, I really pained myself over deciding which one of these devices I would choose. But if I had to really sit down and think about it, this Switch is an amazing handheld. It can do so much and allows you a certain degree of portable gaming flexibility. Having the two Joy-Cons be able to come off the Switch and be able to sit down and have some multiplayer fun. It's been a great fun over these years. It's been a great experience. But the more solitary experience and higher performance that the Steam Deck offers is simply what I'm more interested in. I am a big person who loves performance. All I really care about is performance. I don't mind sacrificing that battery life and portability that this Switch can offer. I'd much rather have a more powerful handheld. I don't care if that meant it's thicker, bigger, and overall less portable, and even has terrible battery life. I would just have the most powerful possible thing in my hands, and that's what I would choose. As long as it comes at a good price, like the Steam Deck has, I would choose it. And I didn't mention any of the used market, but the used market for the Switch is just so much better than the Steam Deck. I have found multiple Steam Decks on eBay selling for more than what you can buy a new Steam Deck for, which is crazy. $350 is a great price. The Switch Lite, though, can be had on eBay, which plays all the same games. Just the caveat being you can't dock it. But you can buy a Switch Lite on eBay for about $100. And expect that price to go down even more when the Switch 2 comes out, probably next year. So if you're a gamer on a stringent budget, like you have no money to spend on a gaming device, but you want one really bad, the Switch is the ultimate budget king when it comes to gaming. But if you don't want to buy used and you're looking at these brand new devices, for me, I'm gonna have to pick the Steam Deck. The same price as an OLED, and you get so much more for it. You can play these same exact games on the Steam Deck, usually higher performance, at the same price. It's an amazing deal. But I would love to hear what you guys think. Would you pick the Steam Deck over the Switch, or would you pick the Switch over the Steam Deck? Do you already own both these handhelds like I do? I would love to hear what you guys think down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, all the other social media garbage down below. And don't forget to leave a comment though, I genuinely read them all the time, and last but not least, have a wonderful day.